Here is how I would save Need for Speed. Now, the franchise itself is extremely unlikely to actually see another game in quite a while because of all their devs being on developing Battlefield 6. However, I still think it's a worthwhile discussion to have and really interesting because I love this franchise. Now, my first idea for this next game for Need for Speed is first of all to be based in London, more specifically a fictionalized version of London. So the centre of the map will be all city, all urban environments have that classic sort of like street racing sort of atmosphere, right? But in the outskirts of the city will be based on the English countryside because that gives them more freedom to have tighter, more smaller, more complex roads that are more difficult to drive on and just increases the sense of speed, which is a common criticism of a lot of modern racing games. Now, for the actual time setting of the game, I'd base it 20 to 30 years in the future because this will give them more freedom when it comes to car licensing, because a big problem with games like Need for Speed is getting real-world car brands that actually want to feature their car in it. Now, some car brands are okay with it, but trying to tell, boomers in car manufacturers that like their cars are going to be seen in police chases, drifting, on public roads, all this kind of stuff, is a bit scary. They don't want to have bad character images. That's why crash damage in racing games is very poor, because they don't want to have their cars be seen as unsafe, so they have to have very limited cosmetic damage. Now, they can just have their own custom fake cars in the game to sort of big up the car list and make it more fun and have more features and more stuff to do. And they also have their own sort of like fake aftermarket tuning brands and stuff like this. It just gives them so much more freedom on what they can do for features in terms of the car list and customization, which is what Need for Speed is known for. But of course, it still should have licensed cars, but it's just a cool feature to have because in EA Sports WRC, they actually had something like this. You can make your own rally car, and having something like that in Need for Speed, but in the sense of fake car manufacturers, would be brilliant. Now, for the actual story itself, I would base it on you being a professional racing driver that was simply disqualified from ever being able to race professionally ever again through disrespectful, unsportsmanship-like behaviour. Like, say, for example, you ran someone off on a track once to win, or you were cheating and stuff like this, And so you lose your racing licence, but you still have that itch to, race cars, so you go to street racing. And you'll have 3 different motorsport divisions to choose from, and that is Rally, GT car, and Open Wheel. And whatever motorsport division you choose decides your first starter car. So if you say, for example, if you choose Rally to be your motorsport classification, you would get a WRC spec Fiesta or Ford Puma as your car to race in on street races. And I'd sort of have an element of Need for Speed Heat, where in the daytime it's all sanctioned events, but at night time, that's when the bad stuff happens. So you can choose to have different cars for daytime and nighttime, and depending if you use the car used for nighttime in a daytime race, that increases the chance you've been in a police chase. That's a cool little feature to have, in my opinion. But the story itself will be about you rising up the ranks as an anonymous street racer who at the end of the game reveals himself to be this, professional racing driver. Because what I'll make it clear is, in this story, the character should be extremely, extremely well known. It shouldn't be anonymous, it shouldn't be a niche little guy. He should be probably the most popular racing driver in the world. But he should just be like extremely hated and extremely controversial. And that's why you have to stay anonymous. But throughout the game, your identity starts to get revealed. And then at the end of the game, it all comes crashing down. Everything gets ruined and you have to escape to another city like Most Wanted. And that will be fantastic as a story. And especially because in this world, petrol cars are no longer allowed to be driven on public roads. So daytime events, it's all sanctioned, so you can do it, but at nighttime you can't. So police are everywhere. Like, you're constantly being hunted for driving a petrol car. However, have little features and tricks and hacks, like if you drive an electric car in the game, you're less likely to get a police chase when you're street racing. Or it's a case you get less punishment, stuff like that. But if it's a petrol car, like a VTOL Lamborghini Aventador, you get double the points for being in a street race, but also you lose more credits or more XP when you get busted or crash or whatever. That'll be a very cool feature to have. Now, let me know what you think. Do you think it's a good idea to have a Need for Speed game set in the future, extremely hard police chases and, fake car brands and really cool map design of in a city in the countryside? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I'll be sure to read your comments. But thank you for watching. See you in the next one, and goodbye.